Hi, today I'm filming a Dionysius inspired look for Crystal. I'm going to start by applying my SPF, which is Cotz in Natural Tint, and I'm going to follow that up by applying a hydrating primer by Tarte. It's called Quench. I spend a few seconds rubbing all of that in, making sure that all of my face is covered, even all the way up to under the eye. Then I'm going to apply a concealer on both eyelids using a flat synthetic brush to make sure that that's really blended in all the way from lash line all the way up to my eyebrows. I'm going to be covering almost every inch of my eyelid in shadow today. Then I'm going to grab my Violet Voss palette. I'm going to use a sort of a tan color that's in there, and I'm going to apply that tan color just above the crease line, sort of giving the impression of large, wide open, rounded eyes. I already have round eyes, so I don't have to do a whole lot. I apply that with a smaller brush, and then I use a fluffy brush to make sure that it's really feathered out and sort of light. Then I'm going to take the dark rose color in that Violet Voss palette and apply that just underneath using that smaller brush again in the exact same shape, and then that fluffier brush again to feather that color out. Once I'm happy with that look, I'm going to pick up my Aromaleigh cosmetics and the sort of winey plum color that I'm about to grab is called Jolie. It's going to go by really fast. Now I'm going to take the flat end of that brush and I'm going to start just packing that color in on the inner and outer corners, and then I'm going to use a very small blending brush to connect the inner and outer corner in a line just inside the crease area there, as you can see, leaving the center of my eyelid with no product on it. I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye, and then a lot of this is just going to be sort of putzing until I'm happy with the pigmentation. Then I'm going to grab my green. Now this color doesn't have a name because it was part of a mystery box, but I'm going to use that flat brush and I'm going to pack that green shimmer in the center of the eyelid. And I'm just going to keep packing it on a little bit at a time until I'm really happy with how vivid it is. Once I'm finished with that, I'm going to go in and deepen those shadows again. There's a lot of back and forth here, deepening and packing those colors on and then blending out again. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Tarte eyeliner, and it's called Tarteist, and I'm going to begin tightlining the eyes, which is going in just underneath the lash line, almost on the waterline of the upper lash, and so my eyes are droopy, so I have to pull those up. And really packing that liner in very darkly between the lashes to give the illusion of extra full eyelashes. I'm going to do this on both sides from corner to corner. Now it's time for me to move on to my foundation, and using my Makiage, which is just a shade lighter than my actual skin tone, I'm going to buff that in using a dampened sponge. Now this sponge is very damp because I find this is serum foundation. I find that it can be really drying on the skin, and I need to bring it down below my chin line. So I just pack all that on until I'm happy with the coverage, and then I use my Mary Kay concealer in Very Light, and I bring that under my eyes just to try to counteract any dark circles I have, although to be honest, I never really fully succeed. I do that on both sides, only one side at a time, because directly under the eyes, I don't want that concealer to risk drying out. Now I feel like my face is looking a little bit dull, so I go ahead and take that under eye concealer and I put it on either side of my nose, on my cheeks, and then again underneath my lips on the chin line, because I really want my face to have that sort of white look. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray some setting spray on there to make sure everything stays where I put it before I powder. I'm going to pull out my Aromaleigh finishing powder in Beloved. I just think that it's really, really lovely. It leaves almost a sheen on the skin, keeping everything very fresh looking and youthful without being very drying. So now I'm going to pull out Sternocera, which is also from Aromaleigh, and using a flat brush, I'm going to pack that on top of the green that I had used earlier. And I'm going to just sort of layer that with that flat brush. And then I'm going to pick up the original green that I used before from the Mystere box and just keep packing it on there and then adjusting that burgundy color until I like the blend. And I'm going to continue doing this over and over again until I'm happy with the way that it looks. This is a really heavy look, so there's a lot of back and forth and back and forth. Now this shade is called Echidna, and it's just a very, very slight green tint. Mostly it's silver and gold highlight with a little bit of green highlight. I don't know what was going on there just now. But I'm going to put that on the inner corners of my eye and then blend it out into that burgundy color. Blending green and burgundy, you have to be kind of careful or you end up with a puce. So I'm going to use a liquid liner pen now and line my eyes and then pull that liner out to make a wing once I'm finished. I like to go from corner to corner first before I start the wing, and then I'll sketch it out and fill it in. That way I know basically whether my eyes are going to end up being downturned or lifted up when I'm finished. And then I'm going to line my waterline with that same Tarteist liner. I didn't have a kohl liner on hand. It's packed away in my kit today. So if you're using a liner here, it's best to use a kohl liner on the waterline because it's more likely to stay put, but I'm not going anywhere. It's quarantine. Now I guess I'm deciding what I'm going to do next. And I chose to use just some cheap lashes because I wanted to put them just in the center of my eyelid, and I didn't feel like cutting a pair of $25 lashes just to do that. So I'm going to cut these in the center instead of having two sets of lashes. I'm going to go ahead and cut one and just put them on the very center of my eye. And waiting for them to dry is absolutely the worst part because they need to get nice and tacky or they won't stick to the eyelid. Here we go. Press those on there. Believe it or not, that's not super edited because I did pretty good at managing to stick them on there the first time. But then they're actually really heavy, so waiting for it to dry while hoping that the other one wasn't going to fall off was a little bit nerve-wracking. One eye is always harder than the other, but I managed in the end. So now I'm going to use a pink blush in Phase 0, and it's the color Cotton Candy. Now I pack this one on in layers and blend it out nice and round because in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, they really valued very fair skin and rosy cheeks, and they used really dangerous chemicals like charcoal, ash, and even lead to get that appearance. Now it was also a big fashion statement. The closer your eyebrows were together in ancient Rome, the more of a status symbol that you were, because young, healthy girls had thick, bushy eyebrows that almost met in the center of their forehead. Now, I didn't quite have the bravery to rock a unibrow, so I just brought my eyebrows as close together as I could without feeling too embarrassed, because I still wanted to be able to show my face outside to my husband when I showed off the finished look. So I just pulled them in a little bit, and I did exaggerate the arch just the tiniest amount, but it's not too much. I don't think anybody could notice. Alright, so now I'm going in with a little bit of a very vivid colored lip gloss. I don't even know what brand this is, and I'm going to pack that on with my fingers just in the center of my lips. Almost if you make a little kissy face, you would pack that color on right there. They say like a rosebud was the way many artists and authors described the perfect lips in those times, and so that's kind of what I tried to emulate. I was going to wear a wig, but to be honest, it just wasn't working out, so I decided to just let my hair down and put on my circlet, and that's it for my Dionysius inspired look. It's a halo eye, and as you can see, it's actually really flattering for almost any eye shape.